If I had the simple steps I'm about to share with you in this video during the last bull run, I would have been miles ahead in my crypto journey in terms of save time plus probably $4 to $5 million. And that's exactly why I'm making this video, brother. This is going to save you from the mistakes I made and help you earn hundreds of thousands of dollars more if this is your first cryptocurrency bull run, if this is your second cryptocurrency bull run, or if you've not learned any lessons from the 2017 bull run and this is your third, this is where you need to be. So honestly, if somebody just made a goddamn video like this in my first bull run, the precious time is the one that hurts me the most. Yeah, the money sucks, because losing everything in 2021 definitely sucked. But the time for me of being now 4+ years later seems crazy to think about that. Like 2021, that bull run was 4 years ago, bro. Think about that. The bull run in 2021 was 4 years ago. I mean, that's just wild to me. So portfolio today is about $862,000. But I estimate that my portfolio, if I didn't fuck up the first one, would be worth about 5 to 6 million, maybe even 10 million. If that number doesn't scare you, no, don't get me wrong, I'm so grateful for this portfolio, but I've had to put in some work. But I'm not grateful for the mistakes and lessons I made in 2021, which again was 4 years ago, which still blows my mind. So if this is your first time in this rodeo, or like I said, your second time, you got to pay close attention because the moves that we're going to share today literally could change everything for your bull run. Okay, so firstly, we need to discuss this. And this is smart money pick, and we spoke about this before. A lot of people actually speak about this, but they don't really explain what really happens here. So in a nutshell, this is one of probably the most important pictures. If you are a crypto investor, and it looks so easier said than done, but if you don't understand that we're going to break this down and you don't take this advice, again, it's only, your precious money and your precious time that you're going to lose, bro. And I really don't want that to be you. Okay, the pain that I had to experience in 2021 has, gave me stories to tell you on what not to do. So if you can just do what not to do, you can take all the good stuff. And again, this really stings me how simple this is, because if someone just gave me this in 2021, grabbed me by the head and said, Jake, just have this photo, okay, stop researching coins for 1 minute, okay, you're spending all this time researching coins, which is great, by the way, price prediction videos are cute, they're nice, but just take 1 minute time and get rid of these price predictions to stop filling your dopamine, okay, and just study this. And this is what you'll need, because the price predictions, whether they happen, whether they're not, it doesn't really matter, because this is what's way more important than that. So just this chart, we're going to break it down in 1 to 2 minutes. And how this really works is to dominate in cryptocurrency, okay? To dominate. And I mean like make serious money without being the smartest guy in the market. All you need to do to leave this with no scars, okay? No bad lessons to tell your future self or your future crypto brothers and a boatload of money. You simply need to be in the smart money phase. Now, that doesn't mean the smart money phase of Bitcoin, right? Because the smart money of Bitcoin, you could argue, was like 2011, 2010, when Bitcoin was like $1, right? Is Bitcoin still in the smart money phase? Well, technically, you could say yes, because we're riding up this 2025 bull run, but is Bitcoin in the smart money phase when it's already up thousands and hundreds of millions of percent? You have to ask the question for you. What I really mean by this is, altcoins, okay? But you can use this for Bitcoin. So you need to be in the smart money phase. Okay, that is easy to understand, right? But nobody seems to, play this game. The awareness phase, the institutional investors is fine as well. But the point is, you need to be out when e.g. dumb money's here, okay? The mania phase, the greed, the delusion, the denial, the return to normal. Because, bro, I literally remember this like it was yesterday. Because I thought this was great. If everybody's getting in, we should just keep buying more, right? And you have to ask yourself, if everybody's in, if grannies are in, your mum, your hairdresser, we've always spoke about this, if everybody's in, who are you going to sell to? You're going to sell to your dogs and your cats? They've not got a Coinbase. They can't complete KYC, bro. So who are you going to sell to if everybody's in, okay? Because somebody has to take profit. And when one person takes profit, it creates this cascading effect where people start to really take profit, and then really take profit, and then extremely take profit. And the only person that is left is you and your gran and the hairdresser. And your cat and dog is like, where's food coming from? Because we've lost all our money. Okay, they couldn't do KYC, bro. And again, you can take this chart and just put it on Bitcoin. You know, you can kind of see the phases, right? You can do this on many coins. Again, if you just go back and you just go to Solana, right? For example, Solana's 2021 bull run, and you can pretty much, in a nutshell, see all the emotions of the smart money, the institutional investors coming in, and then the public, the retail, and then like it's just the same, bro. So just put this over a coin that you're interested in and try and work out where it could go. But the point is, if you're not taking profits along this way, you will be left bank holding and you will be left round tripping the bag. And that is a very bad place to be. I promise you that. Now, here's the bull run trap, okay? And like we just talked about, this is typically what happens, right? So this is just Bitcoin's chart in 2021, right? You can kind of see what's happening here, and I've drew this up the top here to really show the points. So these people, okay, once these people start to get in cryptocurrency, this is when it's time, okay? That's your mum and dad. That's the gym bro. That's the hairdressers when you're getting your little skin fade. And he's asking you about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and this new coin, and Solana, and XRP. Your little brother that was never interested in crypto. And again, just the top of the chart. Now, we love these guys. These guys are great, okay? We need these guys in our life. You know, little brother, mum and dad, gym bro. They make our life easy. But unfortunately, we need to make their life difficult. And that's by teaching them a lesson, okay, that understanding that crypto is not easy. It's easy if you know what you're doing. It's easy if you've been in the game for 5 years now. For the guys that think they can put in their last $1,000 and make 100K on a quick flip when everything's sky high, yeah, it's not going to be an easy journey for them. So when these guys start talking about crypto, it's honestly game over. And it's time to unfortunately make these guys lose money by you selling, because you probably have 2 to 3 weeks max before the crash, okay? And I mean really, dead ass. Happened in 21, probably happened in 2017. I wasn't in there, but probably was the same case. Now the caveat to this, let's say for example, and this is where it can kind of get a little bit skew with, give an example. Let's say you're Jim Bro, right? He was interested in crypto before, but he wasn't really that interested, but he was interested. So your mum and dad, they'll just randomly be interested, right? Your hairdresser will never talk about it, then he'll be interested. Maybe your gym bro, for example, was kind of interested, okay? And comparing this to like your mum, maybe she was dead against this, but then Bitcoin pops up on the news and now she's interested after a huge pump, okay? That's where it's time to leave. Sorry, mum, by the way. But the gym bro, if he was kind of interested in it and like, oh, the price is still the same, and if he finally deploys, that doesn't mean it's time to sell because he was already interested. So when I really say this, I really mean the people that are dead against it, never spoke about it, and then price goes up, multipliers of X's, and then they get in. Okay, well, that's when it's time to get taking profits. Now, your first lesson of this video is when this happens, you should already be up super well. Okay, take out 50 to 80% of your coin's profit, and do not let greed control you and round trip all your hard work. Now, again, you can also look at this. This was like 2021's run. Hexy's advertisements in the London on their cabs. You had Matt Damon on Crypto.com. Fortune favors the brave. We all know how that worked out. And then you have this in like New York and some other, states of America. And you know what's funny? I found this and then I found this, and look at the date. Look at the date, November 11th, 2021. Okay, when this got published, that was pretty much the peak. Okay, I just think that's so funny to correlate with my point. Okay, that this is the peak. Safe Moon, biggest scam in the world. I think their guys are getting sued right now. Hopefully he goes to jail, but it is the Wild West. It is what it is. People can't be mad about buying coins and they go, it is the Wild West, man. Like, there's nobody here to help you. We can only make these videos as YouTubers to educate you. But, if you learn from my failures, my mistakes, that's really the best kind of way I can get across to you, is what I've seen before, what has happened previously, and until history doesn't repeat, but it's repeated so far, this is the time to get out. Once we start seeing this stuff, think of Crypto.com as well. They bought the Staples Center. They were doing ads on Formula One, UFC. And you just have to ask yourself, combined with this, okay, these are the kind of guys that, UFC's great. Formula One's great. I watch all this stuff, right? But if these guys are being presented this, and now they're being shelled Crypto.com, on Hex, and it doesn't really matter in Bitcoin, And they start buying it because they're going to, that's just the way their mind works. And it's the way our mind works as well. That's probably why we got interested in cryptocurrency. But we start to learn along the way and try and find the booby traps. But in a nutshell, if that starts happening, bro, it's time to get out. Because again, your cat and your dog and your budgie can't do KYC and buy some Bitcoin, can they? So everybody's already in at that point, and it's time to take profits. Now, touching on that, another thing you can look at, I guess you could say step 2, is the Coinbase app's popularity. This is very important, right? And I think this is super undervalued, and a lot of people talk about this, but they still overlook it. Now, we can basically track Coinbase's app popularity, okay? How many people are downloading it, how many people are using it, which again is super useful. And a lot of people just say, oh, who cares about that? Well, here's why you should care. If you can track how many people are downloading it and actually ranking it on the App Store itself, and you actually look at the data, it's actually scary how well this correlates to the overall market, specifically the 4-year cycle. Because if I show you this, this was a tweet by Bitcoin Data. I've shared this before. And basically what he talks about is the Coinbase App Store ranking on Apple. Now, this app reached number 1 in December 2017 and April 2021 and November 2021. Pretty much all the highs in the bull market. Okay, so what I did for you is understanding this app will probably reach number 1 in the finance apps and also probably in the all apps. Just think about that. Tinder, Bumble, all these little hinge apps that people use for dating, which is fine, by the way. If those apps are being overtaken by Coinbase and Kraken and the Crypto.com, it's probably the time that we've just spoke about that your hairdressers, your horny gym bros, because if that's overtaken the downloaded dating apps, which are the most downloaded apps, okay, on the market, if Coinbase is being downloaded more, don't you think that it's probably the time to take profits? Okay, because all the times that we've tracked it and that other Twitter account has tracked it, it has been the local tops and the bull run tops of the market. So here's some good news. The good news is, of yesterday, May 5th, the Coin App ranking was showing that Coinbase, the app, was 386. Okay, so nowhere near number 1. Now the finance apps or the finance apps, usually that's going to be an easier ranking because this doesn't include every gaming app and dating apps, etc. It's number 25. You want to know something funny? In January 21, when Bitcoin hit $107,000, so a nice local top, not the bull run top, but a nice local top, it was number 3 in the finance apps. And it was number 15 in the all apps compared to 300s that we just talked about. So again, that was the perfect time to take profits. And I didn't fucking look at this for whatever reason because you forget. It's just, you know, I'll admit another flaw. It was a nice time to take profits. We polled, we never did anything. We DCA'd on the way down, which is fine. But again, just having something like this will tell you pretty much when it's time to take profits. Now again, if we look at just Bitcoin real quick, the chart that I showed you at the start of the video, the smart money, the institutionals, like, it's just so funny how every single bull market, like, let's just look at 2021, okay? Let's actually break the point here. If we go back, don't you think it's funny, you know, you have your first little bear trap, and then it goes again. If we go back to 2017, it's literally rinse and repeat, okay? Literally rinse and repeat. Smart money, institutionals, you get your local top. You know, I'm pretty sure if you go to even 2013's, okay, little whoopsie bull run that it had, if you go back enough, there you go. It's just crazy to me that, in a nutshell, if you just have that image that I showed you at the start of this video, go back and find it and take a screenshot of it, that will literally save your bull run, okay? Because you can see smart money, institutional investors phase, and in the rise and the takeoff, so many sell-off phases, the media attention during the price, greed comes in, delusion is here, and how Bitcoin is going to go to $1 million you hear in the news. Public comes in and smart money comes in and takes their money from them, okay? And says, that's my money, maybe in the next bull run, bro, because that's mine. You never did the hard work in the bear market. And then the smart money goes to the bank and says, thank you very much, while the general public are left holding the bag on the way down. And again, it's just the same in every cycle, man. Everybody likes to think that the cycle is different. Yeah, somewhat. We've got regulation, we've got institutional investors, we've got Trump now in office, but in a nutshell, on a longer enough time frame, charts don't lie. They look the exact same. So the question is, what should we do? What should we buy? Should we buy anything at this time? And in my opinion, it really depends on your goals. Okay, I think that's super obvious to understand. If your goals are to do a 10, 20, 30x, you're not going to buy something like Bitcoin. And another thing we need to understand is, where is Bitcoin heading right now? Because it really can't make up its mind. You know, a couple months ago it was at 70 to 80k levels and everybody was panicking, and now we're back at 94k, so the 90s to the hundreds, and everybody's kind of excited again, but we're kind of chopping sideways. And that makes altcoin selection super fucking difficult. Now, again, if you're just wanting a 2x, or not even a 2x, because Bitcoin, in my opinion, won't even give you that in this bull run, but if you want a 5 to 10 to 15, you know, going for the moon 100x, if Bitcoin can't make up its mind, it's very super difficult to actually go into coins at the moment. And whether you like to admit it or not, because that is the case with Bitcoin controlling the market, that's just the reality right now. Maybe that will change in the future, but I've came to accept that. You know, if Bitcoin controls the market, well, if Bitcoin starts to move, usually Solana, Render, Sui, HBAR, XRP will start to go crazy, and then the coins are less market cap, obviously some risk there, they'll really go crazy. So I've kind of accepted it. I didn't used to like it, but you know, you get used to it, and that's just the reality right now. So if you look, and this is how obvious this is, if you look in the last month, when Bitcoin kind of hit them lows of like 74k on the 7th of April, what happened was it really started to go. And here's my point. On Solana, for example, we hit lows of $100, under $100 actually. Bitcoin started to move, Solana went on a tear. And then the smaller market caps came in. You know, you look at Sui at 185, took a little bit of time, as it usually does with the money flow, and then Sui started to go crazy. Render, when we bought Render at 270, literally on the peak bottom, what happened was Bitcoin got the money flow, Solana got the money flow, BNB, all these other bigger caps got the money flow, and then it started to trickle down to the 2 billion market caps. Okay, so just going back to show you that the money lies in Bitcoin, and if Bitcoin's going to go down, so are our altcoins. Now, there's nothing you can really do about our DCA and just chill the F out if you can. It's difficult if you're new, but if you believe in the 2025 bull run, it should be fine. Now, if Bitcoin starts to go crazy, it is really the time to be setting your altcoins up, because if you don't, you're going to be left there holding the bag. Now, if I give you some good categories, there's a bunch, man. The question I always ask is, okay, well, number one, what do I buy? And then what kind of narrative and altcoin, you know, niche, I guess you could say, to fill our bag. So there's, again, it just comes down to your goal. You simply cannot buy Bitcoin, you know, if your goals are 3, 4, 5x plus on this bull run, because, again, accept that. That's fine, because guess what? We are spoiled for choice. I would even argue too much choice, because there's so many coins and categories right now. And again, it's for you to decide, you know, what kind of risk allocation you want to play. You know, made in America could be a good category. Bigger market caps here, but will still maybe give you the 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, maybe 6x in some of these coins, like I believe, okay? Maybe not from the bottoms of the bottoms, but they're going to give you more returns on Bitcoin, and they're still somewhat arguably safe, right? And then, if you want to go a little bit more riskier, you could look at AI. Again, there's so much choice. Everybody always moans about Bitcoin being too far gone, and I get it. I would love to jump in a time machine with you guys and go back to 2010 or 2011, whenever it was $1, it doesn't really matter, $10 is fine, and just put every single thing I had. I didn't have much, but it would have been enough to buy a lot of Bitcoin back then, and put it in Bitcoin. But again, okay, well, you can either get sad about that, or you can start looking at maybe AI agents, okay? Or you maybe look at gaming if you believe the gaming bull run is going to be like 2021. You can still ride Bitcoin returns in different coins, okay? Because Bitcoin's not going to go to $1,000, a dollar, $10, 10 cents anymore. That's over. And if it does, it's game fucking over. I can promise you that. So you have to understand to ride categories. Now, I'll also give you this. We track this on our GG indicator. It's in our private community, but I'll just show you this as well. We have very good news, okay? Not promising you the world, but what I am saying is a lot of altcoins just start to flip green. So when it goes green, I typically track this on a daily. Is the kind of first step, and then I'll go to the weekly, etc., and then maybe the 4-hourly. But we were in a big red phase for a while. Really, like I said, until April 7th is when we kind of flipped, and then we got really confirmation on April 15th. So Bitcoin's now green. Now, that doesn't mean it can't go red in the future, especially the short term, but green is good. And guess what happened? Solana just flipped green, okay? HBAR just flipped green. Sui just flipped green. Render flipped green. Brett's now really flipped green. So the advice there on my indicator that we use religiously is a lot of coins are now flipping green on the daily. Now, again, short term, could go back to red tomorrow. that's absolutely fine. But this is the good news. As long as Bitcoin can be safe. Now, if Bitcoin goes down to 75, 85K tomorrow, that would be devastating short term. And all of these coins would flip red. Okay, that's fine. Well, that's the time to DCA, depending how low Bitcoin can go and depending how much cash flow you have. But regardless, I think these lessons, very simple to do, but hard to execute because nobody seems to do them or people just forget about them like we did. But I think this bull run's going to be great, man. And it's really the time to buckle down. I mean, we are at almost June, July, August times. And that is the time where it's probably going to be buying time's going to be over, to be honest. That's usually the time where it's just like, okay, we filled up our bag. So in a nutshell, you've maybe got 2 to 3 months left of funneling everything you can into the coins that you believe in, okay? And after that, set and forget about it. We just wait and we look at the Jeffrey friends. You know, a good idea might be to do to sign this video off. I might go and start hanging around with people, find new hairdressers, just ask them questions like, hey, new barber, have you heard of crypto yet? And maybe they might say, no, I've kind of heard of it, bought some of this meme coin. And then come back to that guy in August, September, October. And if he's really talking about it and you're like, oh yeah, you're the crypto guy. It's like, yeah, I started to buy a little bit of this. Now I'm going to be a millionaire. And then you know it's time to get out. Might be a good experiment to do. You know, maybe try that. It might save you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay. Dead ass. Because if they're in fully and they weren't in now, you know it's probably time to get out. Because again, the last piece of advice, your dog, your cat, your budgie can't do KYC. You have to sell to somebody. Peace and take care. God bless.